68 onward. He left the Air Force and eventually wound up as part of the Phoenix Project in mid-70s. I became
Again, in his second incarnation.
in his second incarnation as Duncan in the same name. The first and the second Duncans were the same name, Alexander Duncan Cameron Jr. Father saw to that. And the second one was named that, according to what he told his fifth wife, who was Duncan's mother, in memory of its son who had died in World War II.
And this is not a natural incarnation.
No, it was not natural in any way.
Made by machines, by some technology, by the government.
By aliens, combining with the government, part of the Phoenix Project. Now, if we want to get into some of the other commentaries, many of the things which have come to light in the last few years have made this entire operation called Project Phoenix and the carry-on of the Philadelphia experiment, also Project Phoenix now, more than a little bit bizarre. When they perfected, that is, when they made a working experiment that was without hitch, without glitch, and without problems for personnel, of course the project became of great interest to the Navy and to other military services. After several generations of revamping, they finally came up with what is today commonly called the stealth technology. The stealth technology basically involves not only...
The real stealth technology.
Yes, it involves not only special coatings placed on the stealth fighter and the stealth bomber, but also the full invisibility technology, which is on the B-1 bomber, has been for many years, the B-2, which is the stealth, on every Navy fighter aircraft in the fleet, on every fighter aircraft the Israelis have, on a number of other Air Force craft, all of the super carriers. And this technology is now reduced to the portable size where an individual can be made invisible. So it's gone through many generations of revamping and shrinking of the size of the equipment, which says two things. One, solid-state technology has become of age, and you are now able to do in a very small package things that it once took a huge pile of equipment to do. Secondly, they've modified the equipment to some extent so that it is now possible to make it portable and still completely effective. What the principles now are that they're using, I don't know. I don't know if it bears a resemblance to the original procedures or not, but they do have it working. Like there's even a famous photo available of President Bush and his Secret Service man out fishing at Kennebunk Park, Maine, in the surf. And in between the two of them, there's a fishing pole standing there fishing with nobody hanging onto it, quite invisible, hands holding it up. This is rather a famous picture, and it is there. It has been publicized in a couple of newspapers, and it merely goes to show that the government has rather good control over this sort of thing. There are other stories, not apocryphal, but real. Yeah, this is the famous picture. Right.
And the picture, and we see the
Yeah, you see the president on the right in his big shirt, the Secret Service man on the left with his arms crossed, and the fishing pole standing there all by itself in the surf. And it's very strange. If you look closely, you'll see down in the water there are splash marks around invisible feet, right between the two. Yes, right there. The angle seems a little bit off in terms of where the poles are fishing, but we don't have the full picture of exactly what bay they were in or where this was and exactly where their lines were actually anchored. So this now can be done by either one of two techniques. One, hardware, or the second one, I understand, is they can put the human, that is a Secret Service man, through a special processing where without hardware he becomes invisible for about 72 hours. And then he starts to do the invisible man number and start to come back into visibility, and also he gets, I understand, violently ill in the process of coming back to, quote, normalcy, unquote. Either way, they have control over processes of invisibility.
Hangover.
you might have a very powerful invisible hangover, and the hangover is not invisible to the person who has to withstand it. This is only one of the aspects of many things which have occurred.
One very interesting thing here that comes to my attention is that if all carriers and if all planes are equipped with this invisibility, which basically is also a teleportation technique, then practically all confrontation on this planet becomes impossible, because you cannot fight a fleet that can hop around the world ocean at will, just flipping the numbers.
Flipping the dials and showing up somewhere else,
yeah,
after turning on the invisibility.
From the keyboard.
There's more than one report of this, of a fleet going invisible in the Pacific, off radar, off optical view by private aircraft that happen to be flying in the area. And the fleet shows up a day later, so a couple of thousand miles away, and steaming under completely normal conditions where it doesn't appear like anything has happened. So they've changed location in the meantime, and they were totally off all radar, and not visible, and could not be tracked in that period of time. They made a quick jump of some type, and were there. How do you explain this to the sailors? I don't know. How do you explain to the personnel on board the ship that are not in on the equipment, because these big carriers and larger ships, everybody does not know about the equipment, only a handful of personnel, including the skipper, of course.
Maybe this film, The Final Countdown, gives an idea of how this is explained. They simply said that it was a whirlwind, a cyclone with some time-changing characteristics that moved the ship back in time to the Pearl Harbor attack.
Yes, that film purported to be fictional, and they got away with it, you might say, by showing it as a freak of nature.